Allison Jones joins us now. She's a relationship expert and the author of Measure Twice, Cut Once, Navigating Negativity in Toxic Relationships. Allison, welcome. How are you?
Good morning, Chris. I'm great. Thank you for having me.
All right. In your bio, it says you've had to navigate some toxic relationships. How did you come out of that and become a better person?
I was able to do some self-assessment, some therapy, and a lot of self-awareness, and it actually helped me to understand my role in those relationships because I came to understand that it takes two to build a toxic relationship. And so I sought out to improve myself, and over the course of time, it actually improved my relationships as well.
Yeah, we always think it's the other person's fault. If you didn't leave those dirty dishes in the sink all the time, I wouldn't be so mad at you, right?
Exactly. It's so easy to point fingers without looking at ourselves and our role in the situation.
hmm well, what do you advise people now? Because the economy and COVID-19 is putting a lot of stress on relationships as people are losing income, losing jobs, having to spend a lot of time looking at each other eyeball to eyeball, smell each other's stinky breath and all the rest. How do we deal with all of that COVID-19 has brought on?
Well, during this pandemic and the global stress, we are in overload right now. So some of the things we have to do is we have to bring into a sense of mindfulness. We need to be aware of what we are feeling, and we have to tap into other people and what they're experiencing, particularly those who are closest to us, because we're, like you said, eyeball to eyeball. We have to identify first within ourselves where's the anxiety coming from at home or at work, if it's kids, if it's family. We need to be mindful of what we're feeling first. And then we need to engage with the other person and find out what's going on with them. The next thing is to have some self-kindness for yourself, yes, and to others. But what's happened in our country, unfortunately, and around the globe is that sometimes we find that we've lost just civility in many ways, whether it be civil discourse or politeness. So just the little things like opening doors, saying please and thank you, doing the dishes and saying thank you. Those little things mean a great deal right now because people need to feel some sense of stability, some sense of feeling good about themselves, and then finally a shared humanity. We may be isolated, but we're all human, and we have to come to an agreement that we all have pretty much the same needs. We all want to be safe, happy, healthy, and secure.
You know, I think that's all good advice, but I wonder what's going on in the world. I read these articles about how Asians are under attack in San Francisco because people think that they're responsible for the COVID crisis. Before that, there were people who were Sikh, who were not even Muslims, who were attacked and beaten up and killed when the 9/11 attacks happened. We seem to direct our anger at people in various ways. They pushed down a 91-year-old man who later died of his injuries, and it was caught on camera. Some 19-year-old did it. How do our young people get so misguided sometimes?
I believe that with all of our advancements in technology, unfortunately, it was meant to bring us together, but it's actually ripped us apart in many ways because we don't have to engage in a very real way anymore. And I am a business adjunct professor, and a lot of my young students, they just don't have a sense of socialization. Their socialization skills are pretty poor. They stare at their phones all day. They can actually need to engage with someone sitting right next to each other, but rather than actually tap them on the shoulder and engage, they'll actually text them. So I think what's happening is there's, again, an overload of desensitization here. We're desensitized to what's happening in the world, whether it be playing video games that are violent, watching violence on TV, not engaging with other people, and somehow young people have forgotten that people have feelings. They have feelings. We have a very, very high statistically, we have a high incidence of young people committing suicide. There was just a young Korean girl, I believe, who is a star on social media, and she took her life. The very thing that made her famous is what eventually she killed herself over. And it seems to be happening a lot. Over the last year, there have been pop stars, young pop stars who have killed themselves, et cetera. So I think a lot of this is really coming down to lack of socialization skills. We are not engaging our young people to work as teams, to build relationships, and those are the types of things that they need, not just personally, but to be an asset in society as well.
You know, I think you're right. Pre-COVID, when my wife and I used to go out to restaurants, we were out one time at this restaurant, and this handsome young couple came in, and they sat down at the table across from us. And the first thing they did after they ordered was both of them picked up their phones, their heads were down, all you could see was the top of their heads, and they were did. And we were joking, they're probably writing each other, but I doubt it. They were on all these social media apps and connecting with people and texting, and that not one word of conversation went between them. And we kind of laughed about it, but it really wasn't funny.
It's absolutely not funny. To speak even further to that, Chris, I actually had a similar situation where we were on the road and saw a minivan filled with a family. It looked like the 2 adults in front and 5 children in the back. Everyone except the driver was on a phone.
And it's lucky the driver wasn't on the phone.
I was thinking the same thing. I was wondering, I wonder if he's looking down as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I found that really sad because I remember growing up, a family trip was a big deal. And when you had an opportunity to spend time and drive cross country or drive to the next state, you played games, you sang songs, you listened to music, and now it's like you're in the exact same proximity and no one even wants to engage with each other. I've even seen couples, like you said, at restaurants sitting across from each other and watch them take selfies of not only their food, but themselves instead of talking to the person sitting across from them. And we wonder why relationships are failing. We're not engaging.
Next, you're going to tell me on that family trip you had a shoebox with fried chicken in it and pound cake, right?
I think so. Anything's possible. He was probably so glad no one was talking to him.
I think you know what I'm talking about. But you're right. When we took trips like that, we had to play games where we were counting cars that were red or anything else, playing password in the car. Everybody's in their own environment. They even build cars nowadays so that you can be socially isolated. The kids in the back seat can have their own console and game sets.
Absolutely. We are starting to build a society that is completely autonomous. It is not a society that we are promoting engagement. We are not promoting loving relationships. We are not promoting communication. And what's sad is, again, statistically, it shows that there are so many unhappy single people, and the dating apps are taking complete advantage. But there are so many people that are craving love and companionship that they cannot be.
Allison, we're just about out of time, but where can people find out more about you and what you do in your book?
Okay, they can find me on my website, DAllisonJones.com, and they can get my book, Measure Twice, Cut Once, Navigating Negativity and Toxic Relationships, on Barnes & Noble and Amazon.com.
Allison, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Have a great day.
All right. They say wearing a mask is an act of love. I've got 2, and I'm going to put them on right now. That means I love you twice as much as anybody else. Time for me to get my hat. Bye.